What? What do you mean I'm getting a sister? Hey guys, DB right here, and today we are starting with What If Goku Was Female? As you can see, I'm in my new house. Now, this was suggested to me from someone through the comments who was watching my What If Vegeta Was Female series, which I'm pretty sure I finished that. If not, I may have to go back to it and actually finish it. But until then, let's start with this one. Our story begins as an old gentleman living by himself in the area of Mount Palzu. He's looking around, looking for ingredients for dinner that night. I think these would be good for a stew tonight. Don't need too many. I'm only feeding myself for one tonight. Well, that may have been what Gohan might have thought, but then, of course, the Saiyan pod crashed. And Gohan, just like in the original timeline, would be introduced to Goku. But this isn't a little Saiyan boy this time, no, it is a little Saiyan girl. And, well, Grandpa Gohan decides to name the child Goku, at least until he could maybe figure out where the child came from, reunite her with her birth parents. But of course, that ain't happening, so Goku kind of stuck, and I think Goku could be a gender-neutral name. Does sort of sound somewhere up there, like Coco. Goku, Coco. Yeah, I think it kind of works in that sort of way. And well, much like in the original, little Goku was hard to handle, much like her male counterpart wanted nothing to do with Grandpa Gohan's kindness until she essentially bumps his head. So then we're gonna time skip to the point where Grandpa Gohan faces his inevitable death. And we get to the whole Bulma coming to Mount Palzu looking for Dragon Balls, and this is where she meets this new version of Goku. And to be honest, for the most part, it's pretty much the same. It's pretty much the same going through the whole Pilaf saga. A couple of differences, a couple of comedic moments where Bulma is trying to teach Goku how to use makeup. Oh, so this is makeup. Yeah, Grandpa told me about that. I think you're supposed to put makeup powder everywhere, and Goku ends up resembling something that looks like almost a bit of a mime. It's funny, but it was a waste of perfectly good makeup. Yep, Bulma would have her hands full. And her habits grossed her out even more. But hey, at least they couldn't use the whole only boys have tails excuse this time. So it was pretty much established that, Goku is odd. And well, and the fact that Goku is a girl this time, believe it or not, Bulma is even less tolerant. I mean, how Goku reacted in the original, you could sort of expect that from a little boy, but this little girl, she's out there hunting, killing, eating wolves, and all sorts of things, and yeah, not that very interested in makeup tutorials at all. So other than that, meeting Yamcha, Oolong, and Pilaf, pretty much the Pilaf saga goes exactly the way it does in the original. Other than maybe some other slight differences in Goku's personality. But rest assure you, she still has Goku's confidence. If not, sometimes she's a little bit overconfident. Little too up there. And well, that would become apparent that after the events of the Pilaf saga and we head into the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai saga. And essentially, well, Krillin has already sort of begun softening up Goku pretty much straight away, just due to the fact that, well, Goku's a girl and yeah, Krillin's kind of smitten. So he's not trying to cheat her out of a meal or anything like that. However, she doesn't really tolerate when Krillin tries to go easy on her. Like, take the rock exercise, for example. Krillin deliberately tried not to participate in order for Goku to get the win, but Goku would not have it and pretty much forced Krillin to give it all he had. And like in the original, Krillin actually won the contest, so at least our version of Goku also didn't cop the food poisoning. And, well, eventually, Roshi's training eventually paid off, and we actually get to the tournament itself. And needless to say, is that the fights went in very similar nature to what we get in the original, except that this version of Goku is a little bit more ruthless. She's not holding back as much as what the original did. Maybe this version of Goku just has a little bit more Bardock in her than, well, I guess you could say Guinea. You may have Guinea's looks a little bit, but yeah. And I just said he, she. Goku's a female, DB right. We have to remember this. I love criticizing myself. Anyways, back to the story. And, well, let's just say when Goku battles the monster Giran, we actually get a proper fight between the two. Mainly because this version of Goku is not as dim-witted as the original. Oh, there are moments, of course, but she's, I don't know, she just has a bit more of an intellect on her. So she's not falling for Giran's tricks like, hey kid, come here, I'll give you a surprise, and then tries to lay Goku out like in the original. She pretends to fall for it. Really? Got something to show me? And then she pretty much flips him onto his back. He doesn't know what the heck's happened to him, and fight goes off. Giran's pretty much eliminated. And Krillin's fights pretty much go like they do in the original. And then we have Goku battling with Nam. And yeah, she's a bit more cautious. She's not taking unnecessary risks, like that tornado kick attack that nearly cost Goku the fight in the original. Nah, she's actually taking Nam quite seriously, but in the end, beats him relatively easily. Now, if you're wondering about the power level differences between this version of Goku and the original, she's actually slightly weaker. And that's because she doesn't take as much chances as the original Goku does. Oh, she does throw herself into the fray, don't get me wrong. It's just, she's a bit more careful about it. So she doesn't get banged up as much as the original. So she's slightly weaker than the original counterpart. But then, we get to her, and the battle between Master Roshi. And another slight difference between her and the original Goku is that she's slightly taller this time around. Which I think you can imagine where this is going to be a key difference into their fight. Now, for the most part, a lot of this is pretty much the same, except that this version of Goku is not being fooled by Jackie Chun, or rather the disguised Master Roshi's antics. Unlike Krillin and Goku in the original, who didn't believe Yamcha's claims that he was Roshi, this version of Goku is not so easily fooled. You know, being able to use the Kamehameha. She's not falling for the, well, when I do Kamehameha, first I do this. Then, some other exercises. See? Different Kamehameha. Yeah. This version of Goku is not falling for any of that. So, yeah, it's a pretty even bout, pretty much all the way around. And Roshi is actually having to take this a bit more seriously. And, well, pretty much we do get Goku's grade 8 transformation during the tournament after she is hit with the lightning surprise attack. And ultimately, yeah, we know how that pretty much goes. Roshi blowing up the moon, and, well, luckily Krillin wasn't using his gi anymore. And so the battle continued, and now comes the final charge, where the kick comes in. And ultimately, it's actually Goku who gets the win this time. But DB Rai, why is that? You said she was slightly weaker. Yep, she is slightly weaker than the original Goku counterpart. But remember, like I said, she's more intelligent, so she didn't get quite as weakened and beaten and used up all her energy throughout the fight. She was a bit more smart at reserving her energy. Even though being hit with the lightning surprise attack, and as well as going in and out of grade 8 form, took quite a lot out of her. And the fact that she is, of course, slightly taller than the original, she was able to dig her kick deeper into Master Roshi and actually take the championship the first time around. Now, how this change might actually affect this version Goku in the next parts going in, well, that's where we'll sort of leave things for the time being, and we'll get into more of that, because there is quite the chance that this version of Goku might become a bit more arrogant. After all, when Roshi beat Goku in the original timeline, it was that lesson that taught Goku humility, that there will always be someone better and stronger who comes along. So, what are we going to have with a hot-headed female Goku who hasn't learnt that lesson, at least not at this point? So I think we're heading into a very interesting Red Ribbon Army saga. So as always, leave your thoughts in the comments, like and subscribe if you're interested, and we'll continue this story at another date. Alright. I will see you all later. Thank you for tuning in. I do apologize that this didn't really go so different in the timeline, because I think that's why a lot of people watch What Ifs, is to see how this makes the timeline different. But at this point, at least early on in the story, there wouldn't be much changes, except for the baseline for Goku's personality might be a bit different. And she might actually understand, how shopping malls and things like that work, and how to buy herself an ice cream while she's in the middle of hunting Dragon Balls, whatever. Anyways, so all that and more next time at a later date. Thank you for joining me, and catch you later.